Hello everyone, welcome to a new chapter. Today we are going to talk about a topic that can make the difference between making progress with your physique or remaining stagnant without understanding why. How to know if you are truly recovering well or if, on the contrary, you have already fallen into stagnation. We often believe that training more is the solution, that if we aren't progressing, we should add sets, days, or exercises. But Mike Mentzer was very clear. The key to growth is not in how much you train, but in how well you recover from that stimulus. And that is what we are going to delve into today. In this chapter, we will cover 1. Operational definition and mental framework, what we mean by recovery: muscle, nervous system, hormonal and mental. Why Mentzer insisted on measuring, not on feeling. Cause gives effect as the only criterion. 2. Objective signs of good recovery, what you want to see in your logbook. Progression in strength and repetitions. Rule number 1. Stable or decreasing RPE for the same load. Consistent or increasing TUT and reps. Morning heart rate HRV. What to look for and how to interpret it. DOMS recovery in less than 48 to 72 hours. Context. 3. Objective signs of stagnation. Overtraining, sustained drop in performance over 2 sessions. Unexplained increase in RPE, persistent DOMS, disturbed sleep, reduced appetite, systemic symptoms, frequent colds, low libido, irritability. 4. Subjective signs. You should not ignore declining motivation, not feeling like training, anxiety before training, or a feeling of having fewer reserves. How to distinguish useful discomfort: burning, momentary fatigue, from real alarm exhaustion. 5. The logbook. How to record everything explained template, essential columns. Date, exercise per weight, effective rep/TUT, RPE, sleep, appetite, DOMS, mood, morning heart rate. Real examples of how to read for weeks of data and draw conclusions. 6. Quick readiness tests, ready to do today. Simple. Performance test, same exercise, same weight, how to interpret it. Morning heart rate/energy test, 7-day protocol. Small functional test reps in 60 to 90 seconds, or sub-max rep max, as an indicator. 7. Mentzer style adjustment protocol, what to do when you detect stagnation. Mild signal gives add 2 to 3 days of rest, reduce volume by 20 to 30%. Moderate signal gives active break of 7 to 14 days plus caloric intake plus sleep. Severe signal gives pause for 2 to 6 weeks and medical evaluation if it persists. Reintegration rules and validation tests. Returning to progress equals okay. 8. Preventive strategies to avoid stagnation: scheduled deloads, sleep checkups, prioritizing calories during intense phases. How and when to use advanced techniques without breaking recovery. 9. Practical cases, 3 clear examples. Beginner, how to identify lack of recovery and correct it in 2 weeks. Intermediate, how to translate your logbook data into decisions, rest versus technique. Advanced, when lowering frequency is the best strategy to continue gaining strength. 10. Closing and call to action, how to apply this over the next 6 weeks and which metrics to watch to know if the change is working. If you find today's content useful, hit the like button to help it reach more people who train without results. Section 1. Operational definition and mental framework. When we talk about recovery in the context of heavy duty, it's not just about muscle soreness disappearing or feeling good. For Mike Mentzer, recovery was a comprehensive process encompassing 4 fundamental levels. Muscle gives muscle tissue needs to repair fibers damaged during intense effort. This process requires nutrients, rest, and above all, sufficient time to complete protein synthesis. Nervous system gives every set taken to true failure is a shock to the central nervous system. If it doesn't recover, you may have rested muscles, but your recruitment capacity and coordination will remain depressed. Hormonal gives heavy training alters anabolic hormones, testosterone, GH, and catabolic hormones, cortisol. Without subsequent balance, there will be no growth. Mental psychological gives Mentzer emphasized that there is also psychological overtraining. If every session leaves you demotivated, without vital energy, and without the desire to return to the gym, it's not recovery, it's accumulated exhaustion. Here's the crucial point. Recovery is not a subjective feeling, but a measurable fact in your progress. That's why Mentzer said the measuring stick wasn't how I feel, but am I stronger? Yes or no? The only proof that you have recovered is that you progressed. If performance doesn't increase, no matter how you say you feel. Biology has already spoken. Mike Mentzer. This mental framework distances us from excuses and self-deception. The cause is a brief, intense, and correct stimulus. The expected effect is more strength, more muscle, more performance. If the effect doesn't appear, the logical conclusion is that recovery was incomplete. In summary, recovery doesn't just mean not being sore or being in a good mood. It means that your entire system, muscular, nervous, hormonal, and mental, has completed the adaptation cycle. And the only way to know this isn't to feel it, but to record it in your logbook and observe if there is objective progress. Section 2. Objective signs of good recovery, what you want to see in your logbook. This section is the practical part. Here you learn what to look for, how to measure it, how often, and how to interpret the data to know if your heavy-duty training is driving adaptation, if you're actually accumulating fatigue. Forget feeling as the only judge. We'll use objective and organized signs that anyone can measure and record. 1. Why objective comes first. Mentzer reminder. Mike Mentzer repeated, biology doesn't negotiate with sensations. The only criterion is the cause-gives-effect relationship. You applied a stimulus set to failure. What effect did it have? If your strength or repetitions increase over time, recovery was sufficient. If not, recovery was insufficient or the cause set was poorly applied. Everything else is clues, useful but complementary. 2. Sign number 1. Progression in strength and repetitions. Rule number 1. The most important. What it is, a sustained increase in the load you move or the repetitions you achieve with the same load in your effective sets. Why it matters? It represents direct evidence of adaptation. More strength equals the muscle and CNS have improved. How to measure it? Practical. Choose 2 to 3 anchor exercises, for example, machine bench press, pull down leg press, in each session. Note, weight reps, cadence, TUT, RPE. Compare the same combination weight plus cadence in the next session of that exercise. More reps or same reps with more weight. Objective criterion for progress. Good sign. +1 minimum repetition at the same load in 1 to 2 sessions depending on frequency, or +2.5 kilograms or 1 to 2.5 pounds on machines over 2 to 3 consistent sessions. Acceptable. Maintenance of repetitions and stable RPE over 2 to 3 sessions if you're increasing TUT or slightly increasing load later. Red alarm. Drop in reps weight over 2 consecutive sessions or inability to maintain weight. Reps after adjustments in rest nutrition. Logbook example. The 1st of August 2025. Machine press 80 kilograms times 8 reps TUT 56s RPE 10. The 5th of August 2025. Machine press 80 kilograms times 9 reps TUT 63s RPE 9 gives valid progression. 3. Sign number 2. Stable or decreasing RPE for the same load. What it is? Rep E equals rating of perceived exertion. Scale 1 to 10 where 10 equals maximum momentary effort. True failure. Why it matters? If the same load feels easier over time, same or lower RPE, it indicates better efficiency in CNS recovery. How to use RPE correctly. Record RPE immediately after the effective set. Be honest. RPE 10 equals true failure, no help. RPE 9 equals 1 to 2 reps in subjective reserved. Interpretation. Decreasing RPE for the same load equals good recovery adaptation. Stable RPE with increasing reps equals also positive. Increasing RPE, same weight reps but RPE +122 equals sign of accumulated fatigue. Examples. Week A 88 RPE 10 gives week B 88 RPE 9 gives improvement in efficiency. Week A 88 RPE 10 gives week B 87 RPE 11 or harder than before gives review recovery. 4. Sign number 3. TUT. Time under tension and consistent or increasing repetitions. What it is? TUT equals total time. The muscle is under load in a set seconds. In heavy duty, controlled cadence makes TUT a very useful metric. Why use TUT? 2 sets with different rep numbers can have similar TUT. For example, for very slow reps versus 8 faster ones, TUT homogenizes the stimulus. Increases in TUT while maintaining technique often equate to greater metabolic and mechanical stimulus. Practical ranges, guidelines, typical for hypertrophy and heavy duty. Approximately 40 ATS per effective set depending on exercise and cadence. If your set regularly falls less than 30 S and you're not increasing loads, reps gives you might be using very high loads, low TUT or very fast cadence. If consistently greater than 90 S you might be using excessively slow reps or hidden volume. How to measure TUT? Note cadence per repetition. For example, 3/4 equals 7 S per rep times number of repetitions equals TUT. Record TUT in each row of the logbook. Practical interpretation. Good sign. Similar or increasing TUT plus stable increasing reps. Alarm sign. Low TUT and dropping reps gives insufficient stimulus or neuromuscular fatigue. Very high TUT and performance drop gives excessive metabolic fatigue. 5. Sign number 4. Morning heart rate and HRV heart rate variability. What to measure and how to interpret these 2 measurements are objective tools of autonomic state, CNS recovery and stress response. How to measure morning heart rate, resting heart rate, RHR. Measure upon waking, in bed, before getting up and without moving. Record in your logbook or with a watch. Do it for 7 to 10 days to establish your baseline. Interpretation. Stable RHR plus or minus 1 to 2 BPM relative to average gives OK. Increase in RHR 5 BPM sustained for 2 to 3 days gives indication of fatigue, stress, insufficient recovery or infection. Decrease or stable RHR with strength improvements gives sign of good adaptation. HRV, heart rate variability. Measure with a reliable tool, watch, chest strap or app. Like RHR, establish a baseline 7 to 14 days. General interpretation. Stable or increasing HRV gives good parasympathetic recovery rest. Sustained drop in HRV, for example, greater than 10 to 20% from average gives physiological stress, poor recovery. Context note: HRV is sensitive to sleep, alcohol, late meals, and emotional stress. Interpret in conjunction with other parameters. Practical combined example. Baseline, air higher, beep. Average HRV equals 56 milliseconds. Day after an intense session, RHR 55 BPM plus 3 HRV minus 5%, gives expected if on the third day RHR equals 58 BPM plus 6 and HRV minus 15%, and reps also drop gives extended rest. 6. Sign number 5: DOMs recovery in 48 to 72 hours. Context and nuances. What DOMs is: delayed onset muscle soreness due to microdamage, common after eccentric work or unusual sessions. What to expect: normal DOMs peaks at 24 to 48 hours, improves and almost disappears 48 to 72 hours later. When to worry: intense DOMs persisting greater than 72 hours accompanied by performance drop. Increased RPE or limited range of motion gives sign of insufficient recovery or excessive damage. Important nuances. Lifting with many eccentrics negatives causes greater and longer-lasting DOMs. This isn't always bad if it was planned and your subsequent progress is positive, but it increases the need for rest. If DOMs persists and there's no progression in your logbook, gives bad sign. How to record DOMs: subjective value 0 to 10. 0 equals no pain. 10 equals disabling. Note which movement causes pain and its impact on your technique. 7. How to interpret these signs together, not in isolation. Don't judge by a single measurement. Use 2 rules. Rule A: average and look at the trend. 714 days. One bad session isn't diagnostic. Observe the trend over 2 to 3 sessions of the same exercise or a week of data. Rule B: combined signs carry more weight. Green: strength increases or remains stable plus stable. Decreasing RPE plus stable RHRV plus DOMs is less than or equal to 72H gives good recovery. Continue: yellow: strength stable but RPE increases. HRV: moderately low/slow DOMS gives take preventive measures. Add 1 to 3 days of rest. Review sleep. Read: strength drop over 2 sessions plus RPE increases plus RHR increases greater than 5 BPM or HRV drops greater than 15%. Persistent DOMs gives apply recovery protocol. Active break 7 to 14 days. Increase calories, prioritize sleep. 8. Practical examples. Real cases in the logbook and what to decide. Case A. Good progress. Begin at the 1st of August 2025. Machine press 78 reps, TUT 56s, RPE 10. Morning HR 54, HRV 60. Sleep 7H DOMs 3, the 6th of August 2025. Machine press 79 reps, TUT 63s, RPE 9, HR 53, HRV 62. Sleep 7.5 hours. DOMs 2 gives OK, maintain or slight progression. Case B. Yellow signal intermediate. The 1st of August 2025. Leg press 180 10 RPE 10 HA, HR 52 HO 58 10 HR, 52 HR 50 HR, HO free 2 8 H 3 days 8, 3 day 3 days rat, free 3 3 weeks rat 3 3 3 as 3 3 Increase KCO plus 200 per day. Improve sleep. Case C. Red alert advanced. Reps drop over 2 sessions. RPE dua, RHR num, BPEM HR fade minus 20%. Persistent DOMs 7. Immediate action. Active break 7 to 14 days. Medical review of fever or systemic symptoms. Upon return, test with 50 to 70% of load and assess. 9 quick readiness tests you can do at home daily, weekly. Quick morning test, RHR plus HRV, recorded in app or logbook. If RHR greater than plus 5 BPM from average or HRV greater than minus 15%, gives negative trend. Submax performance test. Once a week or every 10 days, use a weight that normally gives you 8 reps and test how many reps you can do. If it drops 1 to 2 reps from baseline, gives signal. Light explosiveness test, optional. Vertical jump or 10s kettlebell swings. If performance drops significantly, gives CNS fatigued. 10 noise versus signal. How to avoid false positives, minor causes of variation. Bad night due to a social event, travel, occasional work stress, heavy meal the night before, medications. Don't change your program based on an isolated data point. Use a 7-day moving average for RHR and HRV. For strength, consider 2 to 3 sessions of the same exercise as a minimum sample. 11. If everything looks good, how to proceed. Small action guide. Maintain stimuli. Continue doing effective sets with cadence. Increase very gradually. plus 1 repetition or plus 2.5% weight when improvement is consistent over 2 sessions. Don't increase volume just in case. 12. If there are signs of poor recovery, quick protocol Mentzer version. Mild signal 1 2 indicators. Add 2 to 3 extra days of rest. Improve sleep and plus 200 kcal day. Maintain intensity in the next session, don't reduce it, just postpone. Moderate signal is greater than or equal to 2 indicators over 2 sessions. Active break 7 to 10 days. Mobility, walks, slightly hypercaloric diet. Prioritize 8 hours sleep. Retest with 70 to 85% of load. Severe signal persistent. Multiple indicators. Pause 2 to 6 weeks. Medical consultation if needed. Upon return, reintroduce progressively with 50 to 70% of load and evaluate. 13 practical recommendations for your logbook minimum template include these columns: per session, row per exercise, date, exercise, weight, kilogram, effective reps, cadence, TUT, SRPE 1 to 10, RHR, BPM, HRV %, sleep, HDOMS 0 to 10, mood 1 to 10. Notes: example row, the 1st of August 2025, machine press 88 3/4 7 south, 56105460753 last rep, correct technique. 14. Executive summary: what to look at daily and weekly. Daily RHR, sleep, DOMS, mood, per session, weight, reps, RPE, TUT. Weekly RHR, HRV, averages in comparison of the last session with the previous one for the same exercise. Decision: if 2 to 3 negative signals converge, gives act according to the protocol. 15. Closing the mindset behind the metrics. You are not enslaved to numbers. Numbers empower you. If you want to train, as Mentzer would tell you, measure, interpret, decide. Don't improvise based on sensations. Let the evidence, strength, RPE, TUT, RHR, HRV, and DOMS tell you whether to push or temporarily withdraw. That is the only rational way to progress faster and with less wear and tear. Section 3: Objective signs of stagnation, overtraining, highly expanded version. This section details how to recognize, interpret, and respond to signs that your body has stopped adapting and is entering a state of breakdown. Mentzer would insist, don't confuse work with progress when several of these signs appear together. Causal logic indicates that recovery is broken. Here you'll find the physiological explanation, practical thresholds, logbook examples, action protocols, and medical warnings. Everything you need to act wisely. A conceptual overview. Difference between overreaching and overtraining before listing signs. Mentally define 2 entities. Overreaching, transient overreaching, acute response to increased load, produces fatigue and temporary performance drop, usually reversible in 1 to 14 days with rest or reduced stimulus. Part of periodization if managed well. Overtraining, chronic overtraining, accumulation of systemic fatigue that lasts weeks, months without recovery and causes sustained loss of performance. Physiological and psychological symptoms. Requires structured intervention and sometimes medical attention. Practical rule: if performance drops in 2 consecutive sessions of the same exercise and doesn't correct with 2 to 3 extra days of rest or improvements in sleep, calories, you're entering overtraining territory, not just overreaching. B. Why these signs appear. Brief physiological mechanics. CNS, central nervous system, sets to failure, high-intensity repetitions, and advanced techniques. Fatigue, the ability to recruit fibers and maintain coordination. Central fatigue reduces strength and speed. Hormonal, testosterone, cortisol balance shifts toward catabolism. This alters energy, libido, and recovery. Immunological, chronic load increases vulnerability, more colds, due to immune suppression. Metabolic energy, prolonged caloric deficit or insufficient carbohydrate intake prevents glycogen replenishment and maintenance of performance. Psychological motivation, mood and concentration deteriorate. The mind can no longer sustain effort. See objective signs and how to quantify them. Each item explained in depth. 1. Sustained performance. Drop over to sessions. Key threshold. What to look for. Same load plus same exercise gives lower number of repetitions or inability to complete target TUT into consecutive sessions. Why it matters. Shows adaptation isn't occurring. Indicates deficit in muscular and or neural recovery. Logbook example: the 1st of August 2025, machine press 80 kilograms times 8 reps, TUT 56s. The 6th of August 2025, machine press 80 kilograms times 7 reps, TUT 49s. The 11th of August 2025, machine press 80 kilograms times 6 reps, TUT 42s. Gives alarm to sessions with drop. Immediate action: add 2 to 4 days of rest and evaluate sleep, calories. If no improvement, follow moderate protocol. To unexplained increase in RPE. Same weight, same reps, gives feels harder. What to measure. RPE 1 to 10, recorded right after the set. Interpretation: if RPE increases from 9 gives 10 or subjectively jumps from 9 gives 11 for the same task. The CNS is more fatigued or metabolic reserves are compromised. Alarm threshold: sustained increase in RPE over 2 sessions. Intervention: don't automatically reduce intensity, but delay the next session by 2 to 3 days and optimize sleep plus caloric intake. 3. Persistent DOMS greater than 72H that limits technique what to observe, pain that doesn't subside in 3 days and reduces ROM or causes technical compensations. Why it's serious. If pain prevents you from executing correct technique, any attempt to force the set generates risk and more damage. Nuance. Intense DOMS after highly eccentric technique may be expected. What's not normal is DOMS that persists and comes with strength loss. Action. If it lasts 72 hours without relief and performance drops, take an active break of 5 to 7 days and reduce load upon returning. 4. Disrupted sleep quality quantity. How to quantify hours slept and quality scale 1 to 10. Number of awakenings, latency to fall asleep. Alarm signal, consistent sleep loss 6H per night, or poor sleep quality for greater than 3 to 5 nights accompanied by performance drop. Why it matters. Maximum protein synthesis and hormonal regulation occur during sleep. Without good sleep, adaptation is insufficient. Intervention sleep hygiene. If no improvement, add 1 week of active break, and if it persists, evaluate external causes stress, caffeine, medication. 5. Loss of appetite, reduced cravings, what to look for. Estimated daily caloric intake versus usual sensation of hunger. Why it's a problem. Without enough energy, there's no substrate for repair. Loss of appetite often accompanies increased cortisol and chronic fatigue. Action. Prioritize liquid caloric meals, shakes, and small intakes every 3 to 4H. If it continues, consult a professional. 6. Systemic symptoms. Frequent colds, infections, low libido, irritability, what to include. Repeated colds or infections gives immunosuppression. Low libido and sexual dysfunction gives hormonal imbalance, testosterone, cortisol, irritability, anxiety, poor concentration gives CNS, hormonal axis disruption. Severity. If several of these signs appear together, the condition is moderate to severe. Action. Active break of 7 to 21 days. Recovery review and consult a health professional if there is fever, weight loss, or prolonged symptoms. D. Subjective signs that become objective when recorded. The mind is useful. If you notice apathy or fear of training, record it as data. Mood 1 to 10. When subjectivity repeats and coincides with objective measures RPE reps, RHR, it's no longer a feeling, it's a signal. Example scale in the logbook. Mood 1 to 10. If is less than or equal to 5 for 2 sessions and coexisting with rep drop gives high risk. E. Additional signs useful for coaches. Advanced athletes. Morning heart rate increase greater than 5 BPM sustained for 48 to 72H gives poor recovery. HRV drop greater than 10 to 20% from baseline gives alert. Explosive performance tests. Vertical jump, grip strength drop gives CNS fatigued. Need for cheat reps or reduce technique to complete repetitions gives indicator of neuromuscular exhaustion. F. Extensive logbook examples. Real cases and decision. Case 1. Beginner early warning. Day 0. Assisted squat 128 RPE 10 tut 56s. RHR 54. Sleep 7.5. HDOMS 3 day 5. Squat 127 RPE 11 RHR 56. Sleep 6.5 HDOMS for decision. Add 3 days of rest. Improve sleep. Consume plus 200 K cold day. Reevaluate case 2 intermediate alarm session A. Press 85 8 RPE 10 session B after 4 days. Press 85 7 RPE 11 HRV minus 15% RHR plus 6 BPM DOMS 6 reduced appetite decision. Active break 7 to 14 days plus nutritional check and stress evaluation. Do not reintroduce intensity until recovery. Case 3. Advanced, severe. 2 months of short but very frequent sessions. Progressive strength loss. Low libido. Frequent colds. Decision. Pause 3 to 6 weeks. Medical tests CBC, thyroid, cortisol, testosterone, and professional review. Gradual reintroduction with 50 to 70% of load. GI detailed action protocol graded, mild, moderate, severe. Level 1, mild 1 to 2 signs. Performance dropped in 1 session. Immediate action plus 2 to 3 days of rest before the next intensive session. Support measures plus 200 to 400 kilocalories per day. If in deficit, prioritize sleep 7 to 9H. Eliminate alcohol. Reduce nighttime coffee. Reevaluate in the next session. If recovered, gives maintain. If not, gives move to level 2. Level 2 moderate is greater than or equal to 2 signs over 2 sessions. Active break 7 to 14 days. Mobility, walking, technique work without failure. Low intensity sessions. Focus on nutrition. Protein 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram. Sufficient carbs to replenish glycogen. Hydration. Sleep and stress management. Prioritize sleep hygiene. Light meditation. Reduce extra work hours. Revaluation. Test with 70 to 85% of target load at the end of the break. If performance acceptable, gives return with more rest between sessions. If not, gives level 3. Level 3 severe persistent. Multiple systemic signs. Pause 2 to 6 weeks total from intense training. Medical consultation. Rule out infections, anemia, thyroid issues, hormonal imbalances. Reintroduction. Start with 50 to 70% of previous load and only one session every 7 to 14 days. Evaluate with objective tests after 2 sessions. Document everything and adjust future training schedule. More rest, lower frequency. H. Prevention. How to avoid getting here. Mentzerian strategies. Plan programmed deloads. 1 light week every 6 to 12 weeks based on response. Record everything. Strength, RPE, sleep, RHR, DOMS, mood. Data will save you. Don't increase variables simultaneously. Weight plus volume plus frequency. Change one thing at a time. Prioritize life outside the gym. Work, stress, relationships, sleep because they condition recovery. Avoid chronic. Advanced techniques, rest, pause, negatives except in short, controlled phases. I. Signs requiring medical evaluation. Don't ignore. Fever, unexplained weight loss, bleeding, dark urine, persistent pain that doesn't subside with rest, fainting or syncope, intense sexual symptoms. Anhedonia, total loss of libido. Persistent symptoms don't improve after 2 weeks of conservative measures. Gives consult a professional. J. Gradual reintroduction. Safe protocol to return to training. Week 1 after break. 50 to 60% of usual load. 1 set not to failure per exercise. Focus on technique and range. Week 2 to 60-75% of load. 1 set at 80 to 90% intention without true failure. Evaluate RPE and RHR. Weeks 3 to 4. If all goes well, return to usual scheme but with 1 to 2 more days of rest between sessions than before the collapse. Validation. Strength progression over 2 to 3 cycles means successful return. K. Final messages. Mentzer synthesis. Don't confuse suffering with useful stimulus. The verdict is given by the ability to progress. If you accumulate signs: drop in reps, rising RPE, persistent DOMS, disrupted sleep, loss of appetite, colds, low libido, irritability, act quickly. Early intervention prevents weeks or months of setback. Golden rule: 1 variable at a time when reprogramming. Measure before changing and measure again. Section 4. Subjective signs you should not ignore in the heavy-duty system. Mike Mentzer insisted that objectivity was the golden rule. Cause gives effect, he said. The only thing that should guide your training is the measurable results in your logbook. However, he also recognized that the natural bodybuilder is a complete organism, not just numbers on paper. That's why, in addition to objective indicators, there are subjective signs that should never be overlooked because they are a direct reflection of the internal state of your body and mind. 1. Motivation plummets. One of the first symptoms that something is wrong is a loss of enthusiasm for training. We're not talking about an occasional lazy day, but sustained apathy where the idea of going to the gym stops being exciting and becomes a burden. If you used to look forward to your next session, and now you postpone it or dread it, it's a sign that your body or mind hasn't fully recovered. Mentzer warned that psychological overtraining precedes physical overtraining. The individual burns out mentally before the muscle shows clear signs. 2. Anxiety or nerves. Before training, many bodybuilders believe that getting nervous before a set is normal. It is if we're talking about productive tension, the kind that prepares you for effort. But if what you experience is paralyzing anxiety, fear, insecurity, or a foreboding that you won't perform at the expected level, we're facing a problem. That feeling indicates that the mind no longer trusts the body's ability to respond, a clear symptom of a recovery deficit. Mentzer explained it bluntly. If you fear your training, your body is most likely not ready for it. 3. Feeling of empty reserves. Another very important subjective sign is the constant feeling of baseline fatigue. You wake up tired, feel like you have no spark, and every daily action, climbing stairs, carrying bags, concentrating at work, seems to cost more effort. Here it's important to differentiate between the momentary muscle burn during the set, useful, an indicator of effort, and the deep exhaustion that persists, even hours or days after training. If every session leaves you feeling drained for too long, it means the stimulus-recovery balance is off. 4. Distinguishing useful discomfort from real alarm. Useful discomfort: the burning sensation during the set, the ache in the final stretch, that feeling of muscular emptiness when reaching failure. These are normal and part of productive intensity. Real alarm: lack of energy even before starting the warm-up, persistent joint pain, psychological heaviness, loss of concentration. These are not signs of progress but warnings. Mentzer asserted that pain and discomfort are not synonyms for effectiveness. What produces results is not how much you suffer, but whether you progress in strength and performance after sufficient recovery. 5. Why listening to these signs is vital. The bodybuilder who ignores subjective signs ends up trapped in a vicious cycle. They overtrain, they lose motivation, they force themselves to train anyway. Performance drops even further. Psychological frustration leads to quitting or injury. Mentzer made it clear: if the mind is not willing, the body will not prosper. That's why, although the logbook is the main judge, learning to recognize these internal alerts is an essential self-management tool for successfully applying heavy duty. Section 5. Logbook, how to record everything and how to read for weeks of data. Maximum extension, practical step-by-step, to make heavy-duty scientific, not intuitive. Brief introduction, context only. Your logbook is the judge, not your isolated sensations or the advice of Jim Brosarts. Systematic recording transforms training into an experiment. You apply a cause set to failure, cadence, rest, observe the effect, reps, RPER, sleep, and decide. Everything that follows is practical. What to note, how to note it, how to analyze for weeks, and what conclusions to draw. Part A, what to record, essential columns and how to fill them. Create 1 row per exercise each time you train it. These are the minimum columns and how to fill them accurately. Date recommended format. YYYYMMDD, for example, the 1st of August 2025. Always record the training date. Y facilitates searches and calculations of intervals between sessions. Exercise specific, e.g. machine, bench press, leg press, supine grip, pull down. Be precise. The variant matters. Angle, machine grip. If you change the variant, treat it as a different exercise. Weight, kilogram or pound. Note the actual weight loaded for the effective set weight plus counterweights if applicable. For limited resources, fixed dumbbells. Note the pair, for example, 24 kilograms per dumbbell. Effective reps. Define effective reps as complete and strict repetitions before failure. If you fail attempting rep no. 9. Record 8 if 8 were complete, or 8 plus attempt 9 inches if you want more detail. Do not include cheated or kipped reps only. Strict reps. Cadence S indicate per rep. For example, 3/4 equals 3s concentric, 4s eccentric gives 7s per rep. If you use an isometric pause, note it, for example, to south pause at mid to UTS time under tension formula. Seconds per rep times number of reps, e.g. cadence 3/4 equals 7s times 8 reps equals 56s tut. Y homogenizes stimuli between different rep ranges, RPE 1 to 10, immediate RPE posts at 10 equals real momentary failure, 9 equals could have done 1 more rep with effort, 8 equals 2 reps in reserve, etc. Be honest and consistent. RPE is only useful if used rigorously. Sleep H and quality. Total hours slept the previous night, plus quality scale, 1 to 10. 1 terrible, 10 perfect. Example, 7.0. Hours quality, 8. Appetite, approximate calories. Note, if you ate at maintenance/deficit/surplus, or approximate kcal if you track them. Example, approximately 2,800 kcal maintenance. DOMS, 0 to 10 subjective value. 0 equals no pain, 10 equals disabling. Note where it hurts, for example, bilateral quadriceps. Useful to know if a previous session still limits technique. Mood, motivation 1 to 10. Simple values, 1 equals no desire. Depressed, 10 equals motivated. Record before warming up to detect trends. Morning heart rate, RVR/HRBPM, measured at rest upon waking. HRV if using an app device. Number or percent change versus baseline important. Always record in the morning for consistency. Notes, observations, specific things. Last rep stuck halfway. Technique okay. Vague chest congestion. Travel plus bad night. Used straps. Also record decisions. Add 2 days if no improvement. Example, row and logbook. Recommended format. Date, exercise, weight, reps, cadence, tut, SRPE, sleep, appetite, DOMS, mood, RHRHRV. Notes. The 1st of August 2025 machine bench press, 80 kilograms, 8 3/4, 7 south 56 10 7 hours, quality 7 2800 kcal maint, 3 pectoral, 854 BPM 62 milliseconds. Last rep correct technique, no bounce. Next session planned in 5 days. Part B, how to keep the record, practice, tools and consistency. Format, paperworks, 5-sheet or notebook, digital Google Sheets, Excel, training apps. If you want automatic calculations, the key is consistency. When to record, note the set and RPE immediately after finishing. Other data, sleep, RHRU add in the morning or before the session. Establish baselines. Use 7 to 14 days to average RHRHRHRV. Your personal ranges matter more than absolute values. Uniformity. Measure RHR always in the same position and with the same device. Measure tut with the same cadence pattern you execute. Don't change tempos midway. Backups. If using paper, take periodic photos or transfer to digital weekly. Part C. How to read for weeks of data. Step-by-step method below is a reproducible and rigorous method to analyze for weeks. Approximately equals 28 days of training. The goal is to draw practical conclusions. Are you progressing? Should you adjust frequency, nutrition, or sleep? Preparation. Gather the rows from the last 4 weeks. If you did a split, extract the rows of the same exercise, for example, all sessions of machine bench press. Analyze exercise by exercise. Calculate averages and trends. See below. If using digital, create these calculated columns. Step 1. Basic calculation per exercise. For each exercise, calculate mean reps per session, sum reps/number of sessions, variance or standard deviation optional, tells you stability. Mean RPE, mean TUT, mean RHR morning, and mean HRV, if available. Average DOMs and sleep. Step 2, week by week comparison. Divide the 4 weeks into 4 blocks and calculate. Delta reps week 2, week 1, delta reps week 3, WEEK2, delta reps week 3, WEE22, difference in reps, delta RPE per week, delta RHR, delta HRV per week. Interpretation. Look for trends, not noise. A common pattern. Small improvement in weeks 1 to 2, and maintenance slight improvement in 3 to 4 equals okay. Sustained drop over 2 blocks gives alarm. Step 3, moving average trend. Calculate a 3-session moving average for reps and RPE. If you do few sessions, use 2. The moving average smooths noise and shows the real direction. Signal if the MA of reps drops 2 points in a row or MA of RPE rises 1 to 2 points gives review recovery. Step 4, concrete alarm signals numerical rules. Apply these rules for clear decisions. Red flag, immediate action. Reps drop 10% in 2 consecutive sessions of the same exercise. RPE increases is greater than or equal to 2 points for the same load, sustained over 2 sessions. Morning RHR plus 5 BPM sustained 48 to 72 H and HRV minus 10 to 20% from baseline. DOMs greater than 6 that limits technique greater than 72 H. Yellow flag precaution and corrective measures. Rep stable but RPE plus 1 over 2 sessions. Average sleep less than 6 H per week. DOMs 4 to 6 persistent 48 to 72 H. Mood dropped 2 points on average over the week. GREEN, flag continue. Reps increase or remain stable and RPE stable, decreasing. RHR, HRV in line with baseline. DOMS resolves in 48 to 72 H. Step 5. Cross-diagnosis. Don't act on a single data point. Cross signals, for example, RPE plus 1 but reps increase gives likely. Adaptation. RPE rose due to more load. If RPE plus 2 and reps dropped plus RHR plus 5 BPM gives intervention needed. Part D. Full example. Analyzing for weeks. Realistic case. Imagine you train machine bench press every 9 days approximately equals 3 sessions. 4 weeks. Your entries. Date reps. TUT SRPERHR. Week 1 D08561054. Week 2 DNI 963953 WEE. K3D. 1856 dia 56. Week 4 D27. 749 1158. Step-by-step analysis. Mean reps equals 8 más 9 más 8 7 entre 4 igual a 8.0 gives stable but with drop in week 4. Mean RP igual a 1 0 más 9 más 10 más 1 1 entre 4 igual a 10 gives rising trend in the last session. RHR rises from 54 gives 58 in week 4. Plus 4 beep. Interpretation. First 2 sessions showed progress 8 gives 9, but last to show drop in reps and rising RPE RHR is higher. Conclusion. Yellow flag gives action. Add 3 to 4 extra days of rest, review sleep and K-call. If no improvement next session gives active break 7 to 10 days. Part E. What to do with conclusions. Concrete actions. If analysis shows green flag, maintain course. Document a small progression. Add 1 rep or plus 2.5 kilograms in the next session only if reps rise 1 time consecutively. If yellow flag, add 2 to 3 extra days before the next intense session. Improve sleep hygiene that week routine. No screens 30 to 60 min before. Add plus 200 to 400 kilocalories per day if in deficit. Reevaluate in the next session. If red flag, active break 7 to 14 days, no sets to failure. If persistent, pause 2 to 6 weeks and consult a doctor. Gradual reintroduction. 50 to 70% of load gives 1 set not to failure, gives evaluate. Golden rule. Change 1 variable at a time, rest, sleep, K-call, to know what worked. Part F. More advanced analysis types optional but powerful. Simple graphs, plot reps, RPE and RHR by date. The trend is visually clear quickly. Percent change. Calculate percent change between week 1 and 4. Week 4, week 1, 100. If reps drop 10% gives alarm. Moving averages MA3 or MA2, depending on frequency. Correlation analysis. If RHR and RPE rise simultaneously as reps drop gives likely systemic fatigue. Part G. Practical tips and common errors when using a logbook. Error 1. Inconsistent recording. Solution. Fix the timing. RHR upon waking. RHR upon waking. RPA immediately put at error 2. Changing multiple parameters at once. Increase weight plus volume plus frequency. Solution. 1 variable per cycle. Error 3. Interpreting an isolated data point as a trend. Solution. Wait for 2 to 3 sessions before deciding. Error 4. Ignoring context. Travel, work, stress, illness. Solution. Note external events in notes. Part H. Ready to copy templates. Plain text, row per exercise. Copy and paste into your notebook. Date, exercise, weight, reps, cadence, TUT, SRPE, sleep, H, qual, K-call, APOX, DOMS 0 to 10, mood 1 to 10, RHR BPM, HRV MIS. Notes weekly checklist use in weekly review. Target reps per exercise have increased or remained stable. RPE stable or decreasing. RHRHRHRHRE within plus or minus 2 hours. Mood greater than 6 most days. Resolved in 72 hours. Mood greater than 6 most days. If 3 or more are marked, no gives yellow red flags. Section closing. Mindset and discipline. Your logbook is a tool of freedom and lets you decide with science, not emotion. If you want to apply heavy duty as Mentzer intended, measure everything that matters, analyze with honesty and act with prudence. With 4 weeks of well-kept data, you can know if your program is working or eating you alive. Section 6. Quick readiness tests, ready to do today. Actionable protocols, clear interpretations and decisions based on results. All designed for anyone to implement and make sensible decisions about their next session. Brief introduction. What these tests are and why they matter. Readiness tests are quick, repeatable, and objective checks that tell you in practical terms whether your body and mind are ready for another intense session, or if you should delay, modify the work. Mike Mentzer would insist on the same idea: don't guess, measure. These tests are not a substitute for medical diagnosis, but they do provide useful signals to avoid accumulating unnecessary fatigue. Below are 3 complementary tests, 1 performance-based, 1 morning-based and 1 functional timed, with step-by-step protocols, interpretation thresholds, examples and concrete decisions. Green, yellow, red. 1 simple performance test, same exercise, same weight objective, to directly check if your performance on an anchor exercise is at the expected level. Protocol steps. Choose 1 to 2 anchor exercises that you always record, for example, machine bench press, leg press, pull down. Do not use exercises where you've changed the variant. Constant conditions. Perform the test under the same conditions, same time of day, same warm-up, same cadence, same equipment, and similar nutrition when possible. Brief, non-fatiguing warm-up. Set 1 8 to 12 reps at 42-50% to clear the joints. Set 2 4 to 6 reps at 60-70% rehearsal, not to failure. Test. Use the load typically used in your effective set. Gives perform strict reps to technical failure or until you reach your usual record. Record. Complete reps. TUT. RPE. Morning heart rate of the day. Immediate recording in the logbook. How to interpret practical rules. Green, ready. Reps equal or 1. Compared to the last time you did that exercise with the same load, an RPE equal or lower gives train as planned. Yellow, caution. Drop of 1 rep, for example, from 9 gives 8, but RPE similar or slight increase. And other indicators. Sleep are normal, gives add 48 to 72 hours before doing another intense session for the same group. Maintain planned volume and intensity only if the next test shows improvement. RED, do not train intensely. Drop of is greater than or equal to 2 reps. RPE increases by is greater than or equal to 2 points. Or persistent drop over to consecutive tests. Gives do not do intense sessions. Apply recovery protocol. Add rest, active break, nuances and variations if the exercise is low rep, is less than or equal to 5. Interpret carefully. A more reliable indicator is bar speed or whether you completed all planned reps explosively. If you don't have a velocity meter, set as criterion whether you completed the set as planned without assistance. For advanced lifters, compare max reps at a sub-max load, for example. Number of reps at 80% 1 RM with your historical average. Practical example: last session, machine press 80 kilograms times 8 reps, RPE 10. Test today, 80 kilograms gives 7 reps, RPE 11. Gives yellow-red depending on context. If this is the only issue and RHR is normal, wait 2 to 3 days. If RHR is plus 5 BPM and sleep is poor, give stop. 2. Morning pulse energy test -7-day protocol objective. Detect early autonomic and subjective changes indicating stress, fatigue, or poor recovery. 7-day protocol. How to measure duration. 7 consecutive days, preferably to establish a mini baseline ideal. Extend to 14 days for greater robustness. Timing. Upon waking in bed, before getting up and without moving. Always do it at the same time. Daily. Measurements. Morning pulse, RHR, count beats per minute or use a watch monitor. Measure after 60 to 90 seconds at rest. Subjective energy. Scale 1 to 10, 1 equals no energy, 10 equals energized. Brief note: sleep hours hour. Sleep quality 110. Perceived stress 1 to 10. Alcohol consumed the previous night, YN record in the logbook every morning. How to calculate baseline and detect deviations. Baseline RHR, average of the first 5 to 7 days. Baseline energy, average of your energy scores. Practical rule: start making decisions when you see sustained deviations. RHR plus 5 BPM versus baseline for 2 consecutive days, or energy decreased by is greater than or equal to 2 points for 2 days. Interpretation and actions. Green, RHR within plus or minus 2 BPM of baseline. Energy is greater than or equal to baseline 1. Gives proceed. Scheduled intense session OK. Yellow, RHR plus 3 to 5 BPM or energy 122. Gives caution. Postpone. Intense session 48 to 72 H. Prioritize sleep and nutrition. Do a light recovery session. Mobility, walking. RED, RHR plus 5 BPM or more, and energy 2 or more for 2 days, especially if accompanied by other symptoms, sore throat, fever. Gives do not train intensely. Consider stopping for 7 to 14 days or consult a doctor if systemic symptoms exist. Critical points and recommendations. Context matters. One bad night due to an isolated reason. Travel. Noise should not trigger an alarm alone. Look for patterns, interferences, caffeine, dehydration and mild fever effect. RHR. Record caffeine intake and alcohol sessions and notes. Optional HRV. If using HRV, consider a sustained drop greater than 10 to 20% versus baseline as a stress signal. Interpret with RHR and energy to decide. Example, daily template 2025-0801 Air Lima Plume Pot BPM energy 2Ju Persapulu sleep 2Ju gem quality 7 alcohol and notes hunger okay 3 small functional tests reps in 6290s or submax rep test objective a simple and practical test combining local muscular capacity and metabolic endurance useful for detecting neuromuscular and metabolic fatigue. Option A, timed test 6090s ideal use strict push-ups, goblet squats, kettlebell swings, or machine rows at a controlled pace. Protocol light warm-up to non-fatiguing sets. Time 60s or 90s for leg movements and do as many strict reps as possible with controlled cadence, for example, 2s concentric over 2s eccentric. Record reps, RPE and sensations breathing, local fatigue. Interpretation green. Reps equal or plus 5% versus baseline for the same test gives ready. Yellow 5 to 10% fewer reps gives caution, do a light session or delay intense one. RED drop greater than 10 to 15% gives accumulated fatigue. Avoid intense sessions and review RHR HRV. Option B, submax test reps at % 1 RM. Ideal use for barbell machine exercises. Protocol choose a % of 1 RM that allows approximately 8 to 12 reps, for example, 70 to 75% for many. After warm-up, do as many strict reps as possible at that load, without going to absolute failure if you're a beginner. Record reps and RPE. Compare with your baseline, reps at that % under normal conditions. Interpretation green. Reps equal or plus 1 gives okay. Yellow 1 rep gives caution. Red 2 reps or more gives do not train intensely. Apply recovery. Advantages of these tests: they are quick, reproducible and do not require max 1 RM. They measure both neural and metabolic components. They work well when you cannot or do not want to do heavy performance tests. Practical example: baseline. Strict push-ups 60s gives 45 reps. Test today 60s gives 38 reps, 15%. Gives red gives no intense training. Check RHR, sleep, DOMS, for where and when to implement these tests in your training cycle. Daily routine, morning pulse energy. Test 7 days gives daily, before an intense session. Simple performance test first exercise gives every intense session. Weekly by weekly timed or submax functional test gives every 7 to 14 days for tracking. If in doubt, do the simple performance test before committing to an intense session. If yellow, red, opt for recovery. 5. What to do based on results. Quick decision tree. True green. Proceed with the planned session. Record and continue. Yellow, postpone intense session 48 to 72h. Perform a light recovery session. Mobility 20 to 30 min light cardio. Increase K-call plus 200 to 400 if in deficit. Prioritize sleep. Retest red. Do not train intensely. Apply active break 7 to 14 days. No sets to failure. If systemic symptoms exist, fever, severe pain, gives consult a doctor. 6 common errors when executing these tests and how to avoid them. Changing conditions. Measuring unevenly. Different time, food or form will create noise. Maintain conditions. Interpreting an isolated data point. One bad night is not a trend. Use 2 to 3 data points. Testing too often. Doing max tests daily causes fatigue. Perform tests as indicated, not recording context, travel, work stress, or recent COVID alter measurements. Always note details. 7 complete examples, cases and decisions. Case A, performance test. Okay, morning yellow performance test. Press 80 kilograms, gives 9 reps. Baseline 8 gives improvement. Morning RHR plus 3 BPM and energy 1. Decision, train but with lower volume. Avoid advanced techniques. Monitor sleep. Case B, performance and functional tests. Both red. Press 80 kilograms gives 6 reps, baseline 8. Push-ups 60s gives 18% reps, RHR plus 6 BPM. Decision, stop intense training. Active break 7 to 14 days. Prioritize food and sleep. Reevaluate 8. Safety notes and responsibility. If you have medical conditions, cardiovascular issues, arrhythmias, fevers, consult a health professional before performing submax or high-intensity tests. If during a test you experience chest pain, dizziness, fainting, or difficulty breathing, give stop and seek urgent medical attention. 9. Practical summary. Which test to do today? Do the morning test RHR plus energy every day for 7 days to establish a baseline before an intense session. Do the simple performance test as the first exercise, once a week or every 10 days. Do the functional test 609OS or sub max action. Apply the tree green, yellow, red based on results. And don't forget to cross-reference with sleep DOMs and RHR closing mindset and consistency in Mentzer's style. Mentzer would have summarized it like this: don't decide based on isolated sensations. Design simple tests, repeat them, and let the data guide you. These quick tests are not sophisticated or glamorous. They are tools that let you know when to push and when to pull back, and that distinction is what separates those who progress from those who simply wear themselves out. Section 7 Mentzer Style Adjustment Protocol: what to do when you detect stagnation. Mild gives moderate gives severe, and how to safely reintegrate, all explained in detail with practical examples. Mentzer summarized his approach in a simple, blunt idea: measure, intervene moderately, and let biology do the rest. Here is a practical and highly detailed protocol to apply that logic when your data or sensations tell you something isn't working. Quick introduction mindset. It's not punishment, it's intelligent management. Don't change many things at once. One variable per intervention. Rest, volume, sleep, cake-goal. Every adjustment must have a validation test. If you start progressing again, gives correct decision. If not, gives keep adjusting. Point 1. Mild signal typical criteria. Examples triggering a mild signal: isolated drop of 1 repetition in an anchor exercise. For example, from 9 gives 8. In one session, RPE increases by +1 for the same load. Slightly prolonged DOMS 48 to 72H, but without significant loss of technique. Slightly worse sleep 0.5 to 1H for one isolated night, or morning pulse +2 to 3 BPM for 1 to 2 days. Concrete actions: immediate, 2 to 3 steps. Add 2 to 3 extra days of rest before the next intense session for the same muscle group. Example: if you normally repeat on day 4, move to day 6 to 7. Reduce total volume by 20 to 30% in the next session. Keep the effective set to failure. Do not sacrifice intensity. Eliminate or reduce accessory sets or auxiliary exercises. For example, if you did 4 exercises, gives do 3. If you did 1 effective set plus 2 complementary sets, gives keep 1 effective set and remove the complementary ones. Optimize sleep and nutrition during these days. Prioritize 7.5 to 9H of sleep and add plus 200 kilocalories per day. If you are in a deficit or feel tired, record logbook the response in the next test. Reps RPE, RHR, sleep. How to interpret the response after intervention. If in the next session the variable returns to your baseline or improves, +1 rep or same, lower RPE, the intervention worked, gives return to the schedule with adjusted frequency. If there is no improvement, gives move to moderate signal. Practical example: schedule. Day 0, session A gives increased RPE. Day 3, add 3 days of rest. Do not do planned session B. Day 6, repeat session A with volume 25% only, effective set +1 auxiliary exercise. Result: if reps increase or RPE decreases, gives OK. Point to moderate signal typical criteria examples: performance drop in 2 consecutive sessions, same exercise, sustained RPE +2 DOMS 72H that limits technique, RHR +426 BPM and moderate HRV drop, consistent poor sleep for 2 to 3 nights, reduced appetite, low mood, motivation less than 6/10, along with the above signals. Actions: active break and support. Active break of 7 to 14 days, no training to failure. Allowed activities: mobility, technique with very light loads is less than or equal to 40 to 50% and no failure. Walking, light cycling, 20 to 40 minute breathing work. Avoid sets to failure. Rest pause. Negatives: advanced techniques. Nutrition: increase caloric intake by +200 to 500 kcal day based on deficit goal. Prioritize carbs to replenish glycogen and protein 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram day for repair. Sleep and recovery: strict sleep hygiene, fixed time. No screens 30 to 60 minutes before. Dark environment, 8 to 9H if possible. Consider if work stress or social life contributes. Monitor, record daily RHR, sleep, energy, and DOMs if using HRV. Observe it. If it improves in the week, gives good sign. Do not compensate with more volume when returning. Return with the same protocol but with 1 to 2 extra days between sessions. Revaluation and exit criteria from active break at the end of the period: 7 to 14 days. Perform a simple performance test, same exercise, same load. If reps return to baseline or improve, gives reintroduce training progressively with 1 to 2 extra days between sessions. If no return, gives extend break or investigate causes: sleep, diet, stress, illness. Example: 10-day plan, moderate signal, days 0 to 1. Detect patterns, days 2 to 9. Active break, mobility, walking, light technique, nutrition +300 kcal day. Day 10, performance test, submax or set at 80% if you prefer less risk. Evaluate and decide. Point 3. Severe signal typical criteria, examples, systemic symptoms, frequent colds, infections, fever, involuntary weight loss, very low libido, persistent extreme fatigue, sustained performance drop for weeks despite basic interventions, constantly elevated RH. Aranam sampai 10 beep, marked HRV drop, very low mood, persistent insomnia. Symptoms interfering with daily life, work, relationships, strict and safe actions, complete pause of 2 to 6 weeks from intense training, no sets to failure. Maintain light physical activity, walking, mobility, light swimming, avoid heavy loads. Recommended medical evaluation requests medical tests if systemic symptoms. CBC, complete blood count, thyroid profiles, iron, ferritin, cortisol, testosterone if appropriate. Infectious tests if suspected. Do not ignore weight loss, severe fatigue or fever. Nutritional and psychological support. Moderate hypercaloric nutrition if you are in a deficit. Prioritize nutrient density and micronutrients. If mood is very low, consider professional help: psychologist, psychiatrist. Daily recording, RHR, sleep, appetite, temperature, if fever symptoms, and medical notes. Do not return prematurely. Reintegration must be conservative and supervised. Reintegration safe plan after long pause. Phase 1, week 1 post-pause. 50 to 60% of usual load. 1 set not to failure per exercise. Focused on technique and range. Phase 2, weeks 2 to 3. 60 to 75% of load. 1 set at 70 to 85% intensity without absolute failure. Phase 3, week 4 plus. If all OK, tests and metrics stable, gradually return to 100% load and your previous frequency, but with 1 extra day of rest between sessions compared to before the crisis. Validation. You need 2 to 3 sessions with sustained progression before considering yourself recovered. Point 4. Reintegration rules and validation tests. Mentzer's rule. Returning to progress equals OK. Here is a clear protocol to validate that you can reintegrate at general principles. Increase intensity gradually. First recover technique, then strength. Control 1 variable at a time. Do not increase volume plus frequency plus load in the same cycle. Use objective tests, same exercise, same load, to decide whether to advance. Be step-by-step reintegration protocol. First test, post-break reintroduction day. 50 to 70% load gives 1 to 2 sets not to failure gives evaluate RPE. Next morning, RHR, DOMS. Second test 7 to 10 days later, 70 to 85% gives 1 set at 80 to 90% intention. Do not go to failure if still unsure, gives evaluate. Third test another week later, attempt usual load and effective set to failure if everything above responded well. Final validation. If in 2 consecutive sessions strength reps increase or remain stable with stable RPE gives complete reintegration. If not, gives extend, restart or investigate medical lifestyle causes. C. Quantitative OK criteria. Examples. Reps in anchor exercise equal or plus 1 rep in 2 consecutive sessions. RP equal or 1 at the same load. RHR return within plus or minus 2 BPM of baseline over 3 days. HRV return close to baseline depending on instrument. Mood and sleep. Improved reports is greater than or equal to 7/10 and is greater than or equal to 7H respectively. D. What not to do. When reintegrating, do not try to recover losses with high volume. Do not use advanced techniques, negatives, rest pause in the first week back. Do not ignore data. If numbers don't return, give step back. Common errors and how to avoid them. Mentzer style error. Reducing intensity instead of postponing training. Solution: coolhead. Postpone 2 to 3 days but maintain the intensity goal when you return. Error: applying multiple changes at once. More food plus more volume plus less rest. Solution: change 1 variable and measure over 2 to 3 cycles. Error: interpreting 1 bad night as a crisis. Solution: look for a pattern over 2 to 3 data points before intervening aggressively. Error: returning quickly out of pride. Solution: remember, getting strong takes less time than recovering from a collapse. Practical examples. 3 complete cases. Case A. Mild signal user A. Data: drop of 1 rep in press RPE plus 1. Air hey air dua bay PM action plus 3 days rest. Next session gives volume 25%, no assisted sets. Improvement gives maintain and add plus 1 rep next time. Case B. Moderate signal user B. Data: 2 sessions with rep drops. DOM 72 plus H, sleep 6H, RHR plus 5, action active break 10 days, plus 300 kcal, sleep 8H. Day 11 gives test 70% load without failure, gives OK. Next week gives 1 effective set. Frequency increased to 6 to 8 days between sessions. Validate progress over 2 cycles. Case C. Severe signal user C. Data: 6 weeks with gradual drop, recurrent colds, low libido, RHR plus 8 BPM action, pause for weeks, medical consultation, review tests, CBC, thyroid, iron, hormones. Very gradual reintroduction. Week 1 equals technique, week 2 equals 60% load, Week 3, 80% no failure. Weeks 4 to 6 equals evaluate objective progression. Quick printable checklist to use in your logbook. Is it mild, moderate, or severe? Mark, if mild, plus 2 to 3 days rest plus volume 22-30% gives note response in logbook. If moderate, active break 7 to 14 days plus 200 to 500 kilocalories per day plus sleep 8 hours gives retest. If severe, pause 2 to 6 weeks and medical evaluation gives conservative reintroduction. Reintegrate only if 2 consecutive sessions with improvement in strength, reps and stable RPE. Closing the philosophy behind the protocol, Mentzer argued that intelligently subtracting produces more gains than adding work without criteria. This protocol is not punitive. It is the practical application of his golden rule. Cause gives effect, gives validation. If your interventions follow this map and you validate with data, you will return to progress faster and with less wear and tear. Section 8. Preventive strategies to avoid stagnation. In depth, practical, and true to Mike Mentzer's philosophy. Brief, infrequent, and intense, plus always measure. Short introduction. The idea you should take away: prevention is always better than cure. Mentzer did not advocate uncontrolled work. He advocated doing the right thing and then letting biology act. Preventive strategies combine planning deloads, scheduled breaks, recovery hygiene, sleep, calories, and technical prudence. Using advanced techniques only when they add value without destroying recovery. Below you will find theory, context, protocols, and concrete examples for the gym and for home. 1. Scheduled breaks, deloads, what they are, why, and how to implement them. What is a deload and why does it matter? A deload is a planned temporary reduction in stimulus to allow accumulated recovery and prevent overreaching from turning into overtraining. It is not laziness, it is intelligent management of stimulus recovery. Mentzerian principles applied to deloads. Individualized frequency. Mentzer proposed listening to the logbook, but as a practical rule, a deload every 6 to 12 weeks is usually sensible. Tie this to your progress. If in 6 to 8 weeks you haven't progressed or your RHRV worsens, gives deload duration 5 to 10 days for most. 7 days is a safe standard. For more severe issues, 2 weeks. Intention: recover CNS muscle and restore energy. Glycogen, hormones. Types of deloads: active deload preferable. Maintain movement, mobility, technical work, 20 to 40 min of light cardio. Avoid sets to failure. Keep loads at 40 to 60% and 1 to 2 non-fatiguing sets. Passive deload: almost complete rest from training. Useful if there is severe fatigue or joint pain. Refeed plus deload: slightly increase calories, higher carb intake during the deload if coming from a deficit. How to program it. Template. 6 week cycles. 5 normal weeks plus 1 week active deload. Volume 50%, intensity 20%. No failures. 8 to 12 week cycles. 2 weeks of accumulation plus 1 week deload plus evaluate progress. Practical rule: if 2 indicators are PER/HR reps, sleep converge gives move up the deload. Example: gym normal heavy duty routine. Session A: press, row, leg press. Deload week training day: press 1/6 at 50%, no failure. Row 1/6 at 50%, mobility. Prioritize sleep and plus 300 kilocalories per day. Example: home active deload, 3 sessions of 20 to 30 min mobility plus technique plus walks. 1 light circuit session without going to failure. 2. Sleep checkups: how to monitor and optimize it. Why it is central. Sleep regulates protein synthesis, hormones, testosterone, IGF, cortisol, and CNS recovery. Without enough sleep, no matter how much stimulus you applied, there will be no adaptation. What to measure: practical hours, record hours slept per night. Quality: scale 1 to 10, 1 terrible, 10 excellent. Secondary indicators: number of awakenings, latency to fall asleep, morning feeling. Tools: simple notebook or app monitor if preferred. Alarm thresholds: less than 6h night on average over 7 days gives reduce intensity or schedule a deload. Quality is less than or equal to 5/10 for 3 nights gives review sleep hygiene and training load. Practical interventions: fixed sleep routine, same bedtime plus wake time. Avoid screens 30 to 60 min before dark and cool environment. If you don't sleep well, postpone intense session. Do a light session or mobility. 3. Prioritize calories in intense phases. Practical nutrition principles: growth equals stimulus plus recovery plus energy. If you train intensely, energy calories must support it. Moderate surplus plus 200 to 500 kilocalories per day. In building phases allows better recovery and muscle gain. In a caloric deficit, reduce intensity and/or frequency. Do not maintain the same intensity with a prolonged deficit. Practical rules: progress, intensification phase plus 200 to 500 kilocalories per day. Protein 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram day. Sufficient carbs around sessions to replenish glycogen. If introducing advanced techniques, increase calories plus 200 to 400 kilocalories for 1 to 2 weeks to aid recovery. If signs of stagnation appear and you are in a deficit, Priority N1 equals increase calories before increasing volume. Examples: gym. When planning 2 intense sessions with advanced techniques in the next 2 weeks, add plus 300 kilocalories per day and check sleep. Home limited weight. If you do rep-paced progression and feel fatigue, add a pre-post-workout snack rich in carbs plus protein for how and when to use. Advanced techniques without breaking recovery. Mentzerian philosophy key points. Advanced techniques are occasional tools to break plateaus, not the foundation. Only for advanced trainees who have shown that one set to failure plus recovery no longer gives them progress. Always measure the response and use in moderation. Safe techniques and protocols with examples. Brief rest pause. What it is. Take a set to failure. Wait 8 to 12 s and do 1 to 3 more reps. How to use only on machines or safe exercises. 1 exercise per session as intensification. Frequency, once every 4 to 8 weeks per exercise, not in all sessions. Recovery required. Add 2 to 5 extra days before repeating that exercise. Slow negatives. Forced eccentrics. What it is. Emphasis on eccentric phase, 3 to 8 s per repetition, lifted with assistance. How to use on machine or with spotter. Only 1 to 3 occasional sets, and prefer them when the goal is strength-controlled. Micro-trauma risks. High DOMS. Increase recovery 710 days. And calories. Application. If you progress little for months in 1 to 2 big exercises, for example, press or squat, include 1 session of negatives every 6 to 8 weeks. Pre-exhaustion. What it is. Isolate with a light exercise before the compound to ensure the target muscle reaches failure. How to use, e.g. 10 to 12 reps on fly machine before press. Avoid exceeding duration. 1 isolation exercise plus 1 compound. The effective set taken to failure on the compound. Benefit: prevents synergists from failing before the target muscle. Precaution: increases training duration, gives monitor recovery. Forced reps / assisted with spotter. Extreme use. Only for bodybuilders with experienced spotters and on stable machines. Do not use as standard routine. Effect: adds intensity but increases neural fatigue and injury risk. Rigid rules for their use: only 1 advanced technique per cycle, per muscle. Do not combine rest pause plus negatives plus forced reps in the same session. Use on safe exercises, machines or stable patterns. Avoiding complex free weights without a spotter. Increase recovery. After advanced technique, extend the interval until the next session. For example, if your normal interval is 5 days, move to 7 to 10 days. Control DOMs and RHR. If DOMs 6 and RHR plus 4 to 6 BPM, postpone the next session. 5. Practical templates. How to fit deloads and advanced techniques into real cycles. Template A. Beginner new to heavy-duty 6-week cycle. Weeks 1 to 5 normal heavy-duty sessions. 1 effective set per exercise. Week 6 active deload 5-7 days. Advanced techniques do not use. Template B. Intermediate 1 to 3 years experience. 8-week cycle. Weeks 1 to 6. Normal work record progress. Week 7. Occasional intensification. Use rest pause in 1 exercise and only once. Week 8. Active deload 7 days plus light refeed plus 300 kcal. Evaluate progress. If no improvement, gives adjust frequency. Template C. Advanced 10 to 12 week cycle. Weeks 1 to 8. Work phase with 1 to 2 occasional advanced techniques, max 1 per 4 to 6 weeks and lots of recording. Week 9. Active deload plus refeed. Weeks 10 to 12. Test, validate progression and decide next cycle. 6. How to apply all this at home. Practical recipes. Home deload. 7 days of mobility, 2 light strength sessions, 40 to 50% load. Walk 30 minutes per day. Calories plus 200 to 300 if coming from deficit. Safe advanced techniques at home. Pre-exhaustion with bands or slow eccentrics if you have a partner. In dumbbell press. Prefer rest pause on home machine exercises or with support. Goblet squat with control. Monitoring. Using notebook plus simple RHR measured in the morning is enough. If RHR rises, 80 days. 7 signs that prevention worked. Success indicators. You maintain or improve repetitions and weight across cycles. Consistent progression. RHRV. Recover quickly after intense training. DOMS resolves in 48 to 72h without impacting technique. Motivation and energy remain high. Gives you enter new phases with confidence. 8. Practical checklist for each cycle, printable for your logbook. Do I have a deload scheduled in 6 to 12 weeks? Date noted. Is my average sleep is greater than or equal to 7h last week? Enough calories this phase. If intensifying gives plus 200 to 500 kcal, will I introduce an advanced technique? If yes, gives which technique, in which exercise, when? Safety rules applied. Machine spotter, only 1 technique per cycle. Increase recovery days. How will I validate? Performance test, RHR reps, tut over to cycles. 9. Final messages. Philosophy. In Mentzer's voice. Do less but do it better. Plan. Recovery is part of training. Use intensive techniques as a unique and sporadic tool, not as a daily method. Measure. Your logbook will tell you if prevention is working. Section 9. Practical cases and example templates. 3 clear and highly developed examples, beginner, intermediate, advanced. Each case includes diagnosis, concrete signals, step-by-step correction plan, and how to validate that the correction worked, all in line with Mike Mentzer. Measure, act moderately, and validate with data. Quick reading guide. What you will find. Case 1, beginner. Identifying lack of recovery and correcting it in 2 weeks. Step-by-step protocol. Examples at home and gym. Case 2, intermediate. How to convert logbook data into practical decisions. Rest more or refine technique. Rules, thresholds, examples. Case 3, advanced. Why and when reducing frequency is often the best strategy to continue gaining strength. How to do it without losing progress. In each case, I provide alarm signals with numerical thresholds, immediate actions, a 2-week plan or longer for advanced and clear validation criteria. Case 1. Beginner. Identifying lack of recovery and correcting it in 2 weeks. Typical context. A beginner usually arrives eager, with no experience in dosing load or recording. They tend to imitate long routines or train too frequently because they feel they should. The biological response of a natural novice is sensitive. Recovery matters more than volume. Signs indicating lack of recovery. What you should see in your logbook. Drop of 1 to 2 reps in an anchor exercise in one session. For example, from 8 gives 6 to 7 at the same load. RPE increases by +1 for the same load. DOMs that does not disappear after 48 to 72H and limits technique. Sleep is less than or equal to 6H average over 3 to 5 nights or daily feeling of tiredness. Morning pulse RHR plus 3 to 5 BPM above your baseline for 2 consecutive days if measured. 2-week objective. Restore functional recovery evidenced by data. Reps return to baseline or increase by 1 rep. RPE returns to previous values. DOMS resolves, sleep improves, and RHR drops toward baseline. Step-by-step plan. 14 days. Day 0. Diagnosis and first action. Review logbook. Extract the last 3 sessions of the same exercise. If there are 2 signals, for example, reps drop and RPE rises, gives apply immediate intervention. Add 2 to 3 extra days of rest. Do not train the affected group. Reduce volume next time by 20 to 30%. Keep the effective set to failure. Do not sacrifice intensity. Day 1 to 7. Week 1. Soft break and support days 1 to 4. Active break if data demands it. Mobility walks. Technique work with light load 50%. Nothing to failure. Nutrition plus 200 kcal day if in deficit. Protein 1.6 to 2.0 grams per kilogram. Sleep. Strict hygiene. Fixed time. Darkness. No screens. 30 to 60 minutes before. Daily recording RHR upon waking. Sleep. Energy 1 to 10. By day 6 to 7. Simple performance tests. Same exercise, same load. After a brief warm-up. Intermediate evaluation. If the test shows restored reps or +1 gives return to routine with original frequency, but add 1 to 2 more days between sessions next time. If no improvement gives extend active break to 7 to 10 days. Move to moderate signal protocol. Day 8 to 14. Week 2. Reintroduction and validation. Reintroduced 1 effective set per exercise with reduced volume. Monitor RPE and RHR for the next 3 days. Validation. If in 2 consecutive sessions over 2 to 3 weeks, your reps increase or RPE decreases, gives correction successful. Concrete example. Beginner at home. Dumbbell press. Baseline, 24 kilograms times 8 reps effective set. Last session, 24 kilograms, 6 reps, RPE, 11. Day 0, add 3 days of rest. Volume 25% next session. Day 4, mobility and technique with 12 to 16 kilograms, 2 non-fatiguing sets. Day 7, test 24 kilograms, give 7 reps, partial improvement. Maintain another week and repeat test. If it reaches 8, gives okay. Typical beginner errors and how to avoid them. Error, adding more sets just in case. Gives solution, 1 effective set only, followed by recording and patience. Error, not measuring sleep or RHR. Gives solution, record, at minimum, reps, RPE, sleep and DOMS. Case 2, intermediate, translating logbook data into decisions, rest versus technique. Typical context, the intermediate has trained 1 to 3 years, has better loads and more experience with techniques. Their problem is not lack of technical knowledge but deciding based on data. When stagnant, rest more or correct technique. Cadence. Guiding principle. Mentzer cause gives effect before changing the cause. More rest. Verify that the execution of the current cause was correct technique. Cadence. Tut. Only then modify recovery. Change 1 variable at a time. Key logbook data to cross-reference rep/weight 4-week trend RPE. If it rises without loss of reps gives likely neural fatigue. Tut. Low tut with same load gives fast cadence/poor technique. RHR/HRV. If they rise or fall respectively give stress, DOMS, sleep, mood. Practical rules to decide. Rest versus technique. A. Prioritize technique before increasing rest. If reps drop but tut also decreased, for example, before you did 8 reps with 7 south, rep equals 56s. Now 8 reps with 4 south, rep equals 32s. Increased use of momentum or incomplete ROM notes in logbook. Swing on last rep, RHR and HRV stable. Sleep normal. Action 1 to 2 sessions focused on technique. Reduce load 5 to 10%. Controlled cadence, assisted form, without changing frequency. Record. If technique improves and reps increase, gives do not increase rest. B. Prioritize rest before touching technique. If reps drop and RPE increases by is greater than or equal to +2 with same TUT and preserved technique. RHR +4 to 6 BPM sustained. HRV low and poor sleep. Action add 2 to 5 days of rest or active break 7 to 10 days if multiple signals. Maintain technique and load for next test. Simple flowchart decision in 3 steps. Did TUT drop or technique worsen? Gives work on technique. Do RHR HRV. Sleep show stress. Gives prioritize rest. Both. Gives active break 710 days. Then reevaluate technique. Intermediate example logbook and decision. Data. Week 1 press 107 TUT 56's RPE 10. Week 2100 times 6 TUT 42's RPE 10. Week 3100 times 6 TUT 42's RPE 11. Air higher BPM interpretation. TUT dropped in week 2 gives could be faster cadence, but RHR rose gives combination technique plus fatigue. Action week 0 to 1. Technique reduce 5% and work 3/5 of a second rep plus improve sleep. If no improvement gives active break 7 days. Expected result. If technique was the problem, reps return to 7 with controlled cadence. If persistent fatigue gives rest will lower RHR and then recover reps. Golden rules for intermediates: do not increase frequency due to technical failure. Improve technique first. Do not change technique if there is evidence of systemic fatigue. Rest and return to technique later. One variable at a time. If you change technique and rest simultaneously, you won't know what worked. Case 3 advanced. When is lowering frequency the best strategy to continue gaining strength? Typical context: the advanced trainee has already adapted muscle and CNS 2 years of stimuli. Here the limitation usually becomes total recovery between truly maximal stimuli. Mentzer observed that as strength increases, recovery capacity per unit of time decreases. Therefore, more rest often allows greater intensity and better gains. Why lowering frequency can be the best strategy: the absolute magnitude of stimuli has increased more kg, greater mechanical or neural damage. The CNS needs more time to recover completely. The main limiter of progress at advanced levels is not stimulus but recovery. Lowering frequency allows maintaining maximum intensity each session. Indicators telling you to lower frequency: you struggle to return to your strength max in 7 days and achieve it in 10 to 14 days. RPE remains high for loads that previously felt manageable. You go greater than 2 to 3 cycles without progression despite adjusting technique and nutrition. Increase in neural fatigue. Explosive tests drop while muscle still seems to respond. Biometric indicators: persistently high RHR, poor HRV. How to lower frequency without losing strength. Structured protocol. Step 1. Determine your actual recovery time. Observe logbook. In how many days do you return to the same performance reps? Wait, TUT. That is your real recovery window. If your real recovery window is 8 to 12 days, plan sessions every 8 to 12 days. Step 2. Reorganize, split toward lower frequency and higher quality. If you did full body every 4 to 5 days, change to full body every 7 to 10 days or split into longer sessions every 10 to 14 days, for example. Intense session A1 session every 10 days. Keep the effective set per muscle group. Do not increase the number of sets. Add complementary exercises always without taking them to failure. Step 3. Maintain absolute intensity. Do not reduce intensity relative load in the effective set. If you reduce frequency, your effective set should still be to technical failure. Use extra hours to maximize recovery, sleep, calories, stress management. Step 4. Incorporate frequency periodization 6 to 8 weeks with low frequency, for example. 1 session per group every 10 to 14 days, followed by 1 deload or light week. Then evaluate. If aiming for peaks for competition or testing, plan microcycles where frequency drops even more rest to arrive fresh. Concrete example: advanced in gym. Previous state: full body heavy every 5 days gives stagnation for 3 cycles. Change: full body heavy every 10 days, 2.5 sessions month instead of 6 sessions month. Session: machine bench press 1 effective set, 2 failure, target 6 to 8 reps, row 1 set, leg press 1 set, 1 optional accessory. Rest between sessions 10 days. Expected result: higher quality each set, stable RPE reps or load increase in 2 to 3 cycles, better sleep, lower RHR. How to validate that lowering frequency worked. Criteria: in 6 to 8 weeks, your numbers should improve in 50 to 75% of anchor exercises reps or load. RPE for the same load does not increase, ideally decreases slightly. RHR and HRV return to baseline or improve. If after 8 weeks there is no improvement, gives review nutrition, life stress, or consider other variables. Hormones. Common errors when lowering frequency: increasing volume to compensate. This negates recovery. Do not add more effective sets returning too soon. If you notice relapse upon returning, add another 2-4 days of rest. Confusing volume reduction with psychological weakness. Fewer sessions is not laziness, it is strategy. Comparative summary, quick conceptual table, level main signal, initial intervention, validation time, beginner reps. Drop 1 to 2 RPE plus 1, DOMS 72H plus 2 to 3 days rest, volume 20 to 30%, keep effective set. Sleep hygiene plus nutrition 1 to 2 weeks, intermediate cross data, TUT, RPE, RHR contradictory. If TUT dropped gives technique to sessions, if RHR up and RPE plus 2 gives rest 2 to 5 days, or active break reevaluate in 1 to 2 sessions. Advanced, not recovering strength in usual window, is greater than or equal to 8 days. Lower frequency, for example, sessions every 8 to 14 days. Maintain intensity, prioritize sleep, calories 6 to 8 weeks. Printable checklist per case, attachable to logbook. Did I rec book beginner? 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 Did I rekinner? Did I reginner? Did I reginners? To lek, a lubber to look beginner. Did I lek? At their repper and their revs. Are there was low where are there so or sensor plen up work what with gives apply 2 to 3 days rest plus reduce volume 20 to 30%. Intermediate, did TUT drop or technique worsen? Gives technique reduce 5 to 10% and practice cadence, RRHR and HRV altered. Gives rest advanced, is my recovery window greater than 8 days? Gives planned sessions every 8 to 14 days, maintain intensity, and validate over 6 to 8 weeks. Closing central principle that should guide your decisions whether beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Mike Mentzer's maxim is the same. Apply a clear and measurable stimulus, record the response, and let the data not decide the intervention. Less noise, more evidence. Fewer poorly applied sessions, more well-managed recovery. Section 10, Closing and Call to Action. How to apply this over the next 6 weeks and which metrics to watch to know if the change is working. Practical guide day by day / week by week with decision rules and examples. Mentzer style. Think, measure, validate. Quick introduction. Over the next 6 weeks you will test the core logic we've covered. Apply a clear stimulus intensity to failure. Give recovery time and measure results. The following plan is a reproducible, simple N=1 experiment. It gives you concrete steps, metrics to record, and clear rules to decide whether to continue or adjust. It is not a miracle promise, it is a scientific protocol applied to training. Experiment summary objective. Duration, 6 weeks. Format, 1 to 2 effective sessions per cycle based on individual recovery. See template below. Main goal, increase strength, reps in at least 2 of 3 anchor exercises, for example, machine press, pull down, leg press. By the end of 6 weeks, success criterion, objective progression, more repetitions or more weight. In most anchor exercises and stable or improved recovery metrics are HRV, sleep RPE. Before starting, establish your baseline day 7 to 0. During the 7 prior days, collect this data to establish a baseline. Anchor exercises, choose 2 to 3. You'll use them for tests. Note, weight / reps, cadence, TUT, RPE in the last real session. Morning RHR 7-day average, HRV if you measure it, 7-day average, sleep hours and quality average, mood energy 1 to 10 scale average, average DOMS 0 to 10. Record everything in your logbook. This baseline is your judge. Decisions will be made by comparing to it. 6-week plan. Practical structure, basic principles applied each week. 1 effective set per exercise. The experiment set preceded by 1 to 2 non-fatiguing warm-up sets. Controlled cadence 2 to 3 S concentric phase. 4 to 6 S eccentric adjust per exercise. Target TUT per effective set, approximately 40-80 S depending on exercise. Target RPE 9 to 10 in the effective set. 10 equals real. Technical failure. Mandatory recording. Weight, effective reps, cadence, TUT, RPE, sleep, RHRDOMS, mood. Suggested scheduled practical example for most naturals. Weeks 1 to 2 adaptation. Sessions every 6 to 8 days. Goal, get used to intense stimulus and establish recording protocol. Weeks 3 to 4 validation. Maintain same frequency. If progressing, keep frequency. If not, increase rest to 8 to 10 days. Weeks 5 to 6 evaluation / light intensification. If progressed, attempt small progression. Add 1 to 2.5 kilograms or +1 target rep, and continue. If not progressed, apply an active break of 7 to 10 days and retest at the end. See adjustment protocol. Note the interval 6-8 days is a starting point. Adjust based on your data RH/HRV sleep. The goal is complete recovery before the next intense session. Week by week detail what to do, what to measure, and what decision to make. Week 1, start an adherence session day. A warm-up with 2 warm-up sets. Do the effective set in anchor exercises. Record everything. Daily RHR upon waking. Sleep, energy, 1 to 10, DOMS. Week goal, get clean, consistent data. Decision rule. If RHR plus 5 BPM versus baseline or sleep less than 6H for 3 nights gives, add 2 to 3 extra days before next session. Week 2, verify early response, repeat session A after planned interval, 6-8 days. Key metric, reps equal or plus 1, RPE equal or lower. If yes, continue. If no, review TUT. Cadence, did you do the set as in baseline? And check sleep RHR. If technique okay and RHR high gives, add rest, move to mild adjustment rule. Week 3, consolidation, maintain frequency. If your numbers were positive, you can keep the plan. Perform a brief performance test, same exercise and same load, to compare. If 2/3 anchor exercises show progress, move forward. If 2/3 progress, apply mild intervention, see below. Week 4, midpoint evaluation review, all accumulated metrics for weeks, reps, TUT, RPE, average RHR, HRV, average sleep, and DOMS. Decision, partial success, progress in 1 to 2 exercises plus stable recovery. Continue unchanged or with slight progression. No progress, signs of fatigue. Proceed to active break of 7 to 10 days, moderate rule. Week 5. Intervention or intensification if you progressed in weeks 1 to 4. Try a slight intensification, plus 1 rep per target exercise or plus 2.5%. Load in the effective set. Record and observe. If you did not progress in weeks 1 to 4, perform the active break and prioritize sleep and plus 200 to 400 kilocalories per day. No sets to failure in this block. Week 6, final test and verdict after active break if you had one, or after progression week. Perform objective tests on your 2 to 3 anchor exercises, same weight, cadence as baseline. Experiment success, criterion Mentzer style. Objective progress in is greater than or equal to 2 of 3 anchor exercises and recovery metrics equal or better, RHR plus or minus 2 BPM. Sleep is greater than or equal to baseline 0.5H, stable RPE. If yes, gives experiment validated. Continue cycle and plan next goal. Load increase or cycle replication. If no, gives diagnose, change one variable at a time. Here comes the decision tree. Metrics to monitor what to watch daily, weekly, and in tests. Daily minimum, morning RHR BPM, before getting up. Sleep hours and quality 1 to 10. Energy mood 1 to 10. DOT, MESE 0 minus. Per session mandatory exercise, weight effective reps. Cadence, for example, 3/4 S gives calculate TUT RPE immediately after 110. Notes technique. Compensations, spotter use. Weekly in tests, average RHR for the week. HRV if available, percent change versus baseline. Rep trend per exercise, 3 session moving average. Number of exercises with progress target is greater than or equal to 2/3. Clear decision rules if this happens. Do this. Case A. Clear progress is greater than or equal to 2/3 anchors progress and stable recovery. Action. Maintain plan. Slight progression, add plus 1 rep or plus 2.5 kilograms and repeat cycle. Case B. Partial progress, 1/3 anchor or mixed data, RPE up, RHR stable. Immediate action, review technique and TUT of the effective set. Maybe the cause is technical. Do 1 to 2 sessions focused on cadence. If technique okay, gives increased rest 2 to 3 days before retrying. Case C. No progress and fatigue signs are HR plus 4 to 6 BPM, HRV drop, poor sleep, persistent DOMS. Action. Active break 7 to 14 days plus 200 to 400 kilocalories per day. Prioritize sleep, retest at end of break. Case D. Severe data, multiple systemic signals, low libido, significant sleep disorders. Action. Pause 2 to 6 weeks and medical evaluation if symptoms persist. Practical logbook entry examples for comparison. Baseline, day 7 to 0, machine press minus 80 kilograms times 8 reps, cadence 3/4 7S gives TUT 56S, RPE 10 baseline. RHR 54, BPM sleep 7.2 HHRV 60 milliseconds week 1 day 0 session 80 kilograms times 8 reps TUT 56S RPE 1 HRH 6 kilograms times te kilo sex 8 kilograms tecu sex veki sigi exu sex 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 eku sex eki more now accepts and 1 sa ep tum with catacol was where to that way 54, 53, week today 7th session. 80 kilograms times 9 reps tut 63s. RPE 9 DOMS2, morning RHR 53 gives progress week for mid-test. Press 80 kilograms gives 8 reps. Drop from 9, RPE 10, weekly average RHR plus 3 BPM. HRV 8% gives yellow signal gives add 3 days rest and review sleep. What to change if the experiment fails? One variable rule. If by the end of 6 weeks you don't meet the success criterion, change only one variable and repeat for 4 to 6 weeks. Options if there is fatigue data are HRHRH, sleep, increase rest between sessions, plus 2 to 4 days or lower frequency, tut drop/poor technique, reduce load 5 to 10% and correct cadence for 2 sessions, do not change rest. If in caloric deficit, increase calories plus 200 to 400 kcal day for 4 weeks. If you used advanced techniques without improvement, remove them and return to one clean effective set. Always document the hypothesis. If I increase X gives in 4 weeks I expect Y and validate the result. Final validation signals what it means that the change worked. Objective progress in is greater than or equal to 2 of 3 anchor exercises weight or reps. RPE equal or lower for the same load in most exercises. RHR/HRV return to baseline or improve. Sleep and mood stable or better. DOMs resolving in 48 to 72H without impacting technique. If all these points are met, gives consider the cycle successful and design the next cycle with slight progression. Printable checklist, short, 2 paste in logbook. Baseline done, anchor exercises, RHR, HRV, sleep. Scheduling. Sessions every 6 to 8 days adjustable. Daily recording RHR, sleep, energy, DOMs, session recording weight, reps, cadence, tut RPE, notes. Mid-test week 4, final test week 6. Success criterion is greater than or equal to 2/3 anchor exercises improved plus stable recovery. If not, gives change one variable and repeat for 4 to 6 weeks. Closing practical philosophy. This is not a trick, it's a method, Mike Mentzer would have said. Think like a scientist, act with discipline, and let the evidence dictate your next steps. Over the next 6 weeks, don't chase sensations. Apply the brief, intense stimulus, record honestly, respect recovery, and adjust only when the data demands it. If you follow this script, your decisions will stop being random and become intelligent.